Grand Rising Young People. Huh, I haven't done one of these in a while. On a Saturday. Let me see if I could clean that picture up a little bit. I'm sure you have your own wires and stuff that you look at. You don't need to look at mine. Okay, I think that's good. All right. If you can, there's this little favor I like to ask. If you can, like the video. If you like the video, it moves it up in the logarithm or whatever. And subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe to the channel, then I'll subscribe to yours. And we'll all live happily ever after with our 1,000 subscribers. Let's see. I'm just doing a little bit of experimenting here. They have a new feature on here. It says capture. I'm supposed to be able to capture the moments as they happen or something. That's pretty cool. All right. Now, how do I do something with it? I'll take the capture moment, create a highlight. Did that. So I have to capture 16 seconds. Thank you for putting up with me. Click it again. Just gonna keep going. Your request couldn't be processed. Up a little bit. You can see it, but I can't hear it. If you can hear me, put a one in on or two. So what I'm doing is I'm stalling for time until this create a highlight, which is the end, I guess. Do well, you should have checked that before you started. It didn't pop up until I started. I had no idea it existed. So, a couple more seconds. I thought that it would end. It didn't just go. Stop it. The main problem is, okay, my main problem was I couldn't, main question, my main problem was I couldn't stop it. Stop it. All right. Let's start with I'm sure I'm thirsty. I wonder what's going on. If I could get a glass of water. Can a brother get a glass of water? I guess pretty soon we won't. I heard some wise people say things, and one thing I heard, oh, it was that guy who has the Joker face. He found his niche. He's really good. He said they cut the trees with the fruit and they sell them back to us. They steal the water and sell it back to us in bottles. You know what? I'm really wishing that we had another system. Only place I've actually seen fruit trees outside of in our backyard years and years ago was in California. And they have those orange trees that go that line the street. So of course I'm going to be a dopey tourist, and I picked one. And the person that I was with explained to me very quickly, "Don't do that. We won't be doing that." So what's happening? What are they doing to us? I'm not sophisticated enough to think about, oh, we're in the matrix. My mind, it doesn't do that. I think that this is a day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice, be glad in it. I believe that this is a world without end, but there are end times. I think that we might be in that. The end times are going to be kind of precarious because there's going to be a lot going on. So, for example, our oppressor has a specific debt that has to be paid for their cruelty, or not just their cruelty, but their is there a word for over cruelty? I don't know. It'll probably come to me later. I do have a command of words, but if I go down a rabbit trail, I might not find those words on that rabbit trail. So, anyway, let me see. Over cruelty, um, masochist tendencies. Anyway, so they're going to be paying for that, and there's going to be these bowls that are going to be poured out, and there's going to be these horns that are going to be blown, and there's going to be this antichrist that's coming. And, oh boy, it's going to be a mess. If you're struggling now, you are really going to be struggling uh, here pretty soon in end days because there it's going to get turned up out here. So do what you can to get whatever you can to keep you away from as many people as you can. Okay, so of course you'll still want to go around your family members, but I don't know. I don't think that that is even going to be a good idea. I watch too many dystopian movies, so I kind of have an idea how this is going to go. Right? I believe that we may actually have zombies. I can't see why we wouldn't. They just won't look like the ones that we have seen on TV. Everybody knows about the fast zombies. Everybody knows about the slow zombies. I live in a town where they made the first zombie movie, in theory, and those were the slow ones, but they're able to get you because there are so many of them. So you have to go through them in order to get uh, gas for the car. If they're zombieing around a gas station, if you go to a convenience store because your bug out bag doesn't have any aspirin or Tylenol in it, so they'll be inside the store. I can't remember. Um, I don't think we actually killed them back in those days when we used to watch the zombie movies. I don't remember them actually being shot like they will be in the last fast zombie apocalypse. But anyway, times have changed. Maybe before the next zombie apocalypse, I don't know. Maybe they can. Maybe they'll be smarter, and maybe they'll hide. The fast ones. and everybody knows, they don't come out in the sunlight or something, except for the ones who are hungry. But for the most part, they hibernate during the daytime. And I've seen one where with Will Smith in it, where they would hibernate in the daytime and they would come out at night and they were fast. You're not going to shoot them. So he figured that out. So he set booby traps up around his house, and he also made a way to get out of that house too. So maybe you might want to find a way to get out of your house too. Uh, I guess if you have a front door and a back door, maybe you should be able to get out the back door. But if they're all in the front yard or something, it all depends on the type of zombie you get. I think in the next zombie apocalypse, we'll have a little bit of all of it. I think I seen one where one apocalyptic a zombie movie where some of them ran or walked into the water. So since they can't actually die or something like that, that was quite unique. So be careful. What was that one? I think it was Bird Box, but maybe not. Anyway, so anyway, let's talk about the data centers and how we're not going to get our fair share of water. I like the theories around why we're actually getting the data centers and why they actually need so much water. Oh boy, sorry about that. I don't know where that one came from. Let me see. So they need the water for the elite. Hmm. And I think that the elite that will be using some of these data center water reservoirs. I don't think that they're the ones that have much to do with the end of the time or the end times. They're rich, so I'm poor. I got a bug out bag. They're rich, and they take their bug out bag to a tunnel. Right, uh, so I don't think that uh, those type of elite are really doing something against the people. Okay, and whatever they were doing against the people was probably like a blue collar crime or something like embezzling, or maybe they just got lucky. The president's wife, Hillary, uh, she got grilled once in Congress about her where she get her money from, and everybody knows she worked in Congress, so they have a way of making a little bit of extra money while they're in there. They probably won't make that much whenever they're out, so they got to make as much as they can because where are they going to retire to? I mean, all they can really do is retire. So I don't know if there's a need for them in a lower echelon in the government. So, like for example, she did become the Secretary of State or something after her husband. I think he did 2 terms. So I don't know, but I couldn't see her coming back after that White House experience being a clerk. Okay, and there's really not uh, uh, a strong job market for uh, ex-presidents wise. So, and there's that. So therein lies the problem. People who have all the money in the world because of doing people favors and stuff like that. I think that these are the ones that are also going to be in bunkers, stuff like that. Okay. Um, I heard someone say the other day, I was watching a video, uh, why are they doing all this to, let's just say the planet, just for the sake of an example, why are they doing all this to the planet, knowing that it's going to affect them as well? You know, like chemtrails, they have to breathe the same air. But everybody knows that there are underground tunnels. Like if you ever watched that movie 400, it shows you the extensive underground tunnels. Now, that's not an oxymoron because some tunnels are above ground, but the tunnels underground are way more extensive than the tunnels above ground because the tunnels above ground, they don't really go that far. So in theory, you could go underground from the East Coast completely to the West Coast underground. Okay, and the bunkers are similar, but they're not as extensive. They only went so far. Right? So wealthy people who are in that, or the elite who are living in those, I don't know if they have a back door. Then you have your Elons and your other elites. They they just plan to stay, so their shelters are, I mean, in theory, are 2 or 3 stories. Right, so they can go on their own and survive, but I don't think they're connected to any tunnels or anything. Maybe they may be able to go places. So, for example, the reason why we never see any famous people on the streets is because they use the tunnels, right? That's a strong belief among a certain group of people. Okay, so all futuristic, all stuff that we should have here, but for this many people, underground tunnels and underground transportation, how are you going to police that? How are you going to keep people safe? So I could kind of see their reasoning, but I would like to get on once. I think there was a big wig. She got on one, and it was quite fast. And the way they did it was it would start, I think it's a maglev, and by the time it got the momentum, you were going so fast, but it took a minute to get to that speed. It's not like taking off in a ship where you get the G force, and it would take off or maglev until it just reached this top speed, like maybe 475 miles per hour. Okay, cruising altitude speed, but underground, right? Because the maglev is approaching tracks of electricity or something like that. So it kind of floats. Okay. And uh, she said that it got up to about 475 miles per hour. It was pretty interesting. One of those investigative reporters or somebody, she did an interview. So anyway, they are not hiding them. They're just not telling the majority of people where they are. But all you got to do is in 2026, you have to get a map and it'll show you where they are. I mean, they actually made a movie called 400, and that movie was depicting missing people from state parks. That's another place that I'm going to make sure is not on my to-do list. You know what I'm saying? The one I do want to go to is the Grand Canyon because I remember a newscast once, and they had a dust storm, and what they called it was African dust or African dust storm. It was down there in that area, you know, like Arizona, something like California. those areas, Nevada, areas like that. And they had a huge, huge dust storm, kind of like you see in TV movies. So what they had uh, done was you have to unbrain yourself. Unbrain yourself? Who would? You really to unbrain yourself. You have to unbrainwash yourself. What they believe, I love conspiracy theorists because they have an imagination and they should never really be bored. All right, so what they do is make us not think or amuse us. The word amusement park means the word amuse means not think. Amusement park. So it's a not think park. So kind of look at it like that. But they amused us, distracted us so much. We have to go to work. We got kids. Got to have girlfriends. And some of us who are lucky have wives. Okay, a good wife. Okay. Um, so we're occupied for our whole lives. We never think that you can go to Africa through the Grand Canyon. They do flight plans that deliberately are over water. So, for example, it shouldn't take. What? Why is it that if I'm on the East Coast and I want to go to West Africa, why does it take me almost a day? Okay? When I think you can drive from the East Coast to the West Coast in 4 days. I'm sure it's got stops and breaks and all kinds of stuff. But if you get on that Lab, I think you can get there in 2 hours or something like that. But anyway, there's all types of ways to get to the West Coast of the continent of Africa. But why is why is that it takes us so long to fly? Because you're actually flying what at 400. You're flying as fast as the Lab. All right. So I kind of get their thinking. You want to get a plane load or you want to get a boat load of them jokers up. So you pick you pick some out to start. So for example, when went on a tour overseas, there were only a couple of us that started from our departure, and we had to go further northwest across the ocean. What is it, Atlantic Ocean there? And pick up more people. All right. So we weren't on a road as every place that we were stopping, we were picking up people who wanted to go on this tour. But by the time we got there were people there from all over the place. Okay. So we all didn't end up in Spain or whatever. Something else was happening to Spain in 2026, isn't it? Brother Joe. Spain. I forget. Okay, so I don't know why my throat is dry. I was fine uh, since about 2 or 3 o'clock, but now all of a sudden my throat is dry. Probably because I'm talking. Probably because I'm talking. Okay, so uh, all right, so that's kind of how they do it, but it just seems like you would just go straight from the East Coast to the West Coast and then go north and you're at your destination. But um, I digress. I, I learned a couple of interesting things about the plane and the pilots and how they navigate. Uh, that's because I like to listen. I like to learn stuff. I would like to learn how to make $1 million overnight, but that's not going to happen. So anyway, they use what is called imaginary numbers. Did you know that? So he's planning this flight using imaginary numbers. And we still make it. Okay, so I just believe that when they put you in their flight plan, uh, when you finally do, you probably do cross the continent. You probably do cross over from one side of a continent to another. You don't cross the ocean to do it, but you fly over the ocean to make it seem like blah blah blah. But if you're going to go to the west coast of Africa, of course, that's going to be our west coast. Get it? The west coast of Africa. If you fly from the east coast, is actually the west coast of a whole nother continent. Right? Same direction, blah blah blah. So if they have a dust storm uh, from the continent of Africa, they have it here in the west coast because the dust storms and stuff, the dust clouds, they are happening in the west. Right. So for example, if you live northeast on the United States continent, you're not going to have any dust storms. It's just a no-brainer. Yeah, okay. So, but if you live on the west coast of the United States, you're going to get them dust storms. So the conspiracy theorists have something. They're on to something. Okay. Everybody knows who has been on a rabbit trail similar to this. Everybody knows that there is gold in them Bear Hills in what was that, the Grand Canyon, and they have the majority of it is off limits. And then you got Area 51 is up over in that area too. And you know that's off limits. So I'm pretty sure that the off limits places are connected because these areas that are off limits are huge. Right? It's not like it's a 2 or 3 blocks. When we used to go overseas, in we would get off the ship. There were some areas that we couldn't go to. I mean, you could have, but you might not made it out of there. And it turns out the reason why that was because the people actually love melanated people over there. Who knew? Okay, because we are from the East Coast or Africa's West Coast. Right? People actually love the melanated people. If you're melanated and if you go overseas, you should have a good time. There really isn't a lot of people that have animosity towards you, like in Spain. Right? So that's what I was getting ready to cover. How in Spain, with the climate changing and the water being a problem, I don't know how many data centers they have overseas, but however many they have, it hasn't made the news yet. So they probably don't have any news uh, for the data centers because if they did, I'm sure the BBC would be talking about it. Yes, I did subscribe to the BBC channel because I want to know what's going on overseas because our news may, the news I watch is only 20 minutes long. Now it's on a loop, so they'll do it all day. It'll run all day, but as things happen throughout the day, well, in that loop, they'll add whatever happened. So they're doing the regular news. Then the Orange Man will come out and he'll say have a press conference or something like that. And then the news within like an hour in this loop will include in that news what the Orange Man said. But by the time I watch it, You only get like 20 minutes, 25 minutes or something like that there. So since I'm using the internet to do it, the internet has this terrible habit. If you're watching something, it'll have commercials, all right? But what this news cycle does is they'll act like they're taking a break. All right, so it's in the script, and they'll say, "Okay, uh, here's what we're going to talk about whenever we come back from a commercial break." Right? But they don't actually show a commercial. It's just a interruption, and then they go look right back to the story that they said was next. But a lot of the videos that we have, uh, a lot of the live videos we have commercials in it. But anyway, I like to watch several people, and I pretty much watch the same, unless you have subscribed to my channel, and if you come up on my For You page, chances are pretty good I'll watch you, right? But I have some that I watch every day, right? And since nobody's going to have the capability of doing live videos all day, every day, or right, or be online every day. So like I'm online every other day, and right now this is like an off day for me, so I have no rhythm. Okay, because it's an off day. But when it's my regular day to be doing one, I can actually do two. One on the YouTube and one on the Facebook. All right, I haven't done one on the Instagram yet, or the what do you call it, other place, TikTok. I haven't done one there. But when I was getting interested in TikTok, of course, that was because it was getting taken over. Oh, boy, we'll see how that goes. All right, so anyway, that's my story. How long have I been on here? And I'm not getting anyone coming in the room. So we're just going to leave this one up for about 2 minutes. Just yes. Right. A half an hour is long enough. But one of the things I've seen today for current events is it looks like Spain is losing its sovereignty or may lose its sovereignty, but it's not because it was taken over or by I don't know by force. It's just being taken over by sheer numbers. And these people who are taking it over, they're not bombing them. They're not doing anything. They're just there. And I think they let them. I think they actually let them in deliberately because there was too many people to be moving at the same time. There had to have been some kind of coordinated effort bringing them from wherever they uh, were to where they are now in Spain. But I think they let them in on purpose because if you are melanated, the sun or the global warming won't affect you. And if you are not melanated, it will. So I actually seen one where, uh, and these were not AI because AI hasn't been here long enough to know what a sunburned person looks like. You know what I'm saying? Holy moly. These people are messed up. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and go with these sunburned ones are not AI. And the non melanated people are really probably getting their comeuppance because of a covenant that they had, but they went overboard. Well, what is that saying? Power corrupts. Ultimate power corrupts ultimately. It was one of those kinds of scenarios, and they are getting theirs. Okay. Um, I wouldn't plan on going to Mars with the Musk people because unless they're building this really huge thing in their minds or in their imagination, calling it a space station or something. Even if it was huge, there isn't there won't be enough room for everybody. So if they can escape it, which I don't know, I don't know how are you going to escape the sun. I heard some interesting things like it's cold in space. And I'm thinking, no, how is that? So some of the people who are smarter than me are saying the only reason why we feel the sun is because of the matter that it is around us. But if you're out there in the black of this space, floating off your spaceship or something, you don't really feel the heat. And so what I can't understand is, and this is what's wrong with a lot of their explanations. Well, okay, if you have a space station up there, that has matter. How come it's not burning up on there? So they got some mess with them. So anyway, there isn't really anywhere to go. And what they're going to do is have these bunkers in the hills. And I think there's a scripture that says something about they're going to cry for the rocks to fall on them. Okay. So it's probably because something is going to happen to their supply, their food supply, their water supply, their air supply, and they're going to try to get out. Something like that there. I don't really want to think about it because I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be in it in any of those bunkers. I'll be right here with y'all. Okay. So this is an interesting time, and it's going to be it, it won't be dangerous so much because your adversary who's seeking who is roaming seeking who he can destroy, he won't he can't be everywhere. So we'll have people trying to help him out. You know, the people with the weak minds and stuff like that. They'll be doing this dirty work or something. They'll blackmail them or something like that. You know, they'll do an Epstein on them. They will be working on the people who can take the heat or something like that. There, I don't know. I'm thinking that Europe, for example, in 2026, but during this heat wave, the stats are impressive on how many people have been unalive because of the heat. I understand it's because their infrastructure is not the same as ours because they live in, uh, for example, I live in a glass house. I ain't throwing those stones, but the houses that they live in are, they probably don't have bathrooms because they are so old. They're from the old country, all right. So they're brick. They're not wood thatch. They are old old world houses, no bathrooms in them. I wonder how the people who used to live in those, people who built those, castles and stuff like that. I wonder how they went to the bathroom. Maybe they didn't. Okay. Well, probably because they didn't eat. Okay. The best thing that I've seen from people from the old world, I can only go as far back as when the UFOs would pick up a cow with their tractor beam and do laser surgery on them. Then, whenever they're done examining their brain or whatever, they would beam it back to Earth. So, uh, but they didn't eat the cow. Right? They just did the surgery on it and did exploratory surgery, and they were kind of done with it. So, let's see how this is going to go. So back in them days, if they didn't have restrooms, I guess they would have had to have outhouses and stuff. But there's no petrified, I don't know, outhouses from back in those days. So anyway, I'm not really sure what kind of beings were living back then. If it was the reptilians, you would think they would at least eat mice. Okay, so at some point, that would work there. That underlying mouse would work its way through the lizardoid system, and he would have to expend it. So I can understand, but that's because I never really thought about it. If I wanted to, I could listen to some conspiracy theory. But that's something that I've never heard anybody talk about. Uh, they're researchers. They could tell us about the people. You know the kind of structures I'm talking about. The ones that they say was founded in 1402 or 1492. Christopher Columbus sailed the blue or something like that. Well, if you do a timeline, if you get a map, put it on the wall or something like that there, so it's big enough for you to see the dates and the people's names that were significant at that time. Um, you could see the houses. So, for example, they have these old maps, right? So, what we use, the type of map we use, but in the old days, they didn't use the same map that they had on different maps. And depending on where you live, your depiction of that map would be different. So, for example, on the, the the map of the motherland, it had almost two of everything. It had two Egypts, two Sudans. Okay, so kind of like us, we got North Dakota, South Dakota, North Virginia, West Virginia. So I mean Virginia, West Virginia. What else we had? Dakota, North Dakota, South Dakota. All right. All right. So anyway, I don't know what they're doing over in Spain, but I think they let them in because they're melanated, and what their idea is to mix the melanated people with the non-melanated people, because the non-melanated people are dying because of the heat, right? For those of us that believe that the non-melanated people are Neanderthals, Um, I never thought that a Neanderthal was not human. I just thought that it was a human in a different stage of humanity, but I never thought that it was not human. But now that we have the heat wave going on, we are finding that the conspiracy theorists believe that they're not human. I'm like, oh, okay. So, for example, if you would check my blood, I wouldn't have any Neanderthal blood in me. But if you check the non-melanated people's blood, they'll have Neanderthal. So I think that's coming from mixing the species. So, for example, young people, stick to your own time because of that reason, not because I'm all into segregation or separation or anything like that. No, I'm like that because now they're going to let you into Spain, but it's for mating purpose and for propagating the, let's just call it spade a spade, the Neanderthal race, because the Neanderthal race can't take the heat, right? If you can't take the heat, get in the tunnels or get in the, what do you call that thing? The bunkers and stuff like that, okay? So that's probably why they are doing the bunkers and stuff. from some of the places that we have, let's just say on the West Coast, it looked like they, if you go to the Grand Canyon in Arizona and stuff, it looked like some of these places were melting. Okay, so one conspiracy theorist recently said something about this table, periodic table, has a Xeon, just like XE or something like that. There. And the Xeon is only present. They got it from Mars, because they sent something up there, and they took a sample of dirt. What else could they do with it? All right, because they couldn't fly back one of those boulders, which would get progressively heavier as they got into a gravitational area. So that's going to suck up the gas. So they would just take the spoonful of dirt. And what they found was that xenon uh, is present, and here on the United States, it's present as well, but only in places that were affected by a nuclear blast. All right, so it's a periodic table. It's on a periodic table, but it isn't specific to our planet. Okay, it's also specific to Mars. Where Elon's I'm trying to go. I don't know what he's thinking there is because he's never going to live to see people populate that place. Never. It just is impossible unless he started back when he was 5 or something. Chances are he won't live to see it because it's too far. It takes too much building. You got to get the oxygen in there. Unless they know something that we don't know, like maybe they captured a Martian, okay, and tortured it until it gave up all the secrets, at least that it knew. Because if they're going to catch a Martian or something, he's going to be a scout. You're not going to catch a general Martian or a general or a Martian. That's a general. He's not coming down here. He's going to send out people ahead of time. What do they know? Okay. If you watch our UFO movies, they kind of have depicted that there's this exchange. We'll give you some of our Martians, and you give us some of your humans, and of course they'll all be 6'2", eyes of blue, something like that. There, so they're not going to be. They probably will be pretty smart. So, for example, we just had this rash of people who work in nuclear science or something, and they just came up missing or started off in them or something. I don't know what is going on because the news moved on something else. We're investigating it, and now have you heard about the panda murder or something like that? So they just moved on. That's a lot of people from the same place that got unalived. And um, be in good cheer, though. There are more with us than are against us. And I'm sure that those that are for us are doing the investigations. And they're going to find out unless they get found out first. So then you know. Oh, boy. But anyway, what is done in the secret, if, if you know that scripture, all right, apply that and let's see what happens. So if I'm on the right page, the bunkers are because of climate change, right? Okay, so we go from the climate being too hot down here to Mars, which I don't believe is as hot as it is here. Okay, so remember, one of the reasons, and another reason why we have that xenon present is because I've seen some pictures. But no, I didn't go to a museum. I didn't look in a book about Mars or anything. But I've seen some pictures of Mars that NASA provided, right? And it looked like there were tubes. Okay, they're taking pictures of the planet or whatever, and it looks like that there might have been people living there. But what happened was once they had their nuclear thing, they came here. So everybody was more advanced than we were. Everybody who lived on Mars was more advanced than we are because I'm sure they sent people from that planet. I think they had more escape pods than we have. Okay, our escape pods is running into the hills. Okay. But in advanced civilization, they may still be up there. And some of them may have went over underground because I've seen some of the tubes that at least you could see the top of them for a portion of that tube, and then it would go, it would disappear into the landscape. Pretty, pretty interesting. So there may still be some up there, but I don't know how many came here. Nobody has ever tried to figure out, well, how many people came from the planet. Yeah, blah, blah. There has to be some kind of record. Um, but the only thing they got up there is that little robot thing. It turns out that it has a solar panel on it, and it needs the sun. Right? Anybody who knows anything about a solar panel knows that it's going to get dirty. So they sent the thing up there. I guess it had one of those little windshield wiper things, and that would knock the dust off or something like that there. But they have the dust storms out there because there's no foliage. I think that's they must have some form of atmosphere, but to contain a storm. But again, I I never really would venture into Mars, and but since they have those storms, it covered up the solar panel. So they're praying that another dust storm comes and knocks the dust off of the solar panels for their little spider thing that's running around out there on the planet. And it turns out that one day, just I guess somebody was on a lunch break or something, and they were watching to see if the storm was coming or something. From their estimation, that panel was cleaned off. Okay, so because it has a camera on it, so they could look at it, they could see, oh no, that was cleaned off. So there might be some of our brothers that might be up there, our Martian brothers. We come in peace. I don't think that if we went there, I don't think that we would be coming in peace. I just don't see it because we're not a peaceful people down here. I am peaceful. You by yourself are peaceful, but you get a bunch of us in a room, and some of our solutions might not be peaceable solutions. And I think that's going to happen if we go to Mars and try to set up camp. It's not going to go well for the Martians, and they might not like that. And I think if they do know that we are a warlike people, because if we can see them, well, they can see us. And if all they're seeing is bombs bursting and air all over the place, what do you think? Okay, it's a no, bro. Y'all can stay on y'all planet. So anyway, If you young people are going over there, France is catching it because Africa has asked France to expeditiously uh, recover their whatever they have there and go back home. Take your ball and bat and go back home is what they have been asked to do. So as France is going down, because I remember a long time ago, I watched the conspiracy theorists and they were talking about the Eiffel Tower was built from the money that is and the gold and stuff that was extracted from Africa. Big operation. In anything, get the cobalt, we'll take the gold, we'll take the coal, we'll take whatever you guys got in more, we'll pay you a little bit more. So this is why I'm really liking Ibrahim Traore. Ibrahim, 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 not Abraham. Traore, Traore. Okay, I'm really liking him because he's asking all these foreign people to go back home. And I got to tell you, if you look at the Decatur map or something, you'll get an idea how big the continent of Africa is. And all those people decided to converge on a certain area and escort you out. You're going to be escorted out. You can have all the bombs, all the drones, all the whatever you want. But if those people get on the same page, uh, they may not even um, go for a solution to expel you. Okay. So anyway, you should go while the window is open. All right. So anyway, all those places over there, they're all uh, close enough to each other to take maybe a 2 or 3 hour flight, and you could be in Spain, right? You could be in France, and you can be in the North Africa. And so they are all that close, right? And that's only because the continent of North Africa is huge. So all these surrounding countries are kind of the north of Africa. Yeah, I don't know. You have to look at the maps in order to see what I'm saying. Because we have a map in here. One of my neighbors had moved out. She had a globe, but she had left. And I like to clean out people's places after they move on because they have interesting stuff in it. But I didn't find anything that interesting in the globe because, of course, I don't think this is a globe. I don't think the Earth is a globe. I'm clearly going to go with it's a flat Earth. Right? It always has been. Everybody before we got in here with our globe theory said it was a flat Earth. Right? And we know that uh, some of the accomplishments of the people before us were probably greater than the accomplishments that have been made during, let's say, the last 1492, let me say since 16 or 1792. Those people had some stuff, all right? Look how they claim to have made these monasteries, monolithic buildings. But if you do a little search, they didn't have, all they had was hammers and chisels. Okay, so, I mean, how would they actually make the Eiffel Tower? Okay, you see how big that thing is? I mean, I've only seen it in pictures, and I never really wanted to put on a bucket list. Hey, I want to go see the Eiffel Tower. That just wasn't something that I ever felt I wanted to do. The only thing I ever wanted to do was go to the motherland and see the pyramids. Actually, what I want to do is I want to follow the trail that the slaves from Egypt would have taken. So that means I'll end up in Sudan, I'll end up in Ethiopia, places like that there, right, where we would have went to escape persecution because even though we were freed, that was not an ideal situation for our predecessor captive, captive. Okay, so yeah, I would like to do that. That's going to be in my bucket list. So I'm investing in whatever the orange man is investing in. I'm telling you right now, here's my discretionary $20 bill. I'm investing in these coins and stuff like that there because their value starts out low, like way less than a penny. And as the all right, so I'll watch these for the next 3 years. If they don't take off in 3 years, I will, whatever they're worth at that time, I'll just sell it. Okay. All right. Anytime I hear somebody who has a hot stock tip, I'll buy it. So I've had several discretionary $10 and $40 that I've invested in some of these stock tips. So I'm not foolish. I know that they're not going to go off tomorrow, right? But eventually, one or two of them is going to take off. The, the Department of Wealth is the new one. So that's what the orange means. So the Department of Wealth, the United States oil and stuff. I actually invested maybe $10 in Russian oil. Okay, and you know why? All right, because of that Strait of Hormuz something. I didn't know that. I didn't know where we were getting our oil from. When we grew up, we felt that oil was coming from decomposed dinosaurs. Okay, so I never thought that they were coming from Iran, okay, which is a biblical case, which is in the Bible. You have to remember that they changed the names of those places. So you're going to have to get a map and change the name of those places to their true names. So when you read the Bible, you have an idea. Our old Bibles, way back when I was younger, uh, well over half a century ago, they had pictures in them. Okay? And of course, I wasn't old enough to understand the depictions of what I was seeing, but I was into it because it had pictures. Anyway, I digress. So, young people, if you're melanated, I don't know the plan of the Creator of heaven and earth. And I don't know if he plans to repopulate using the melanated people. Now, that's not just African Americans, that's all types of melanated people. So, for example, there's a whole continent of melanated people. So, I'm pretty sure doesn't he doesn't have to rely on just melanated people here in the United States because the melanated people have always been here in the United States, and we were prisoners of war, not slaves. He who is the victor writes the history, or the victor, he who has the victory writes the history. Okay, so they decided to call us slaves. Either way it goes, I'm glad I was born in this particular time. Holy moly! Even though this particular time is going to be horrendous, right? So we, as a people, survived a horrendous time just to get into another horrendous time. It's that typical out of the skillet into the frying pan, or out of the frying pan into the fire, or something like that. There, can't we all just get along? But anyway, melanated people, keep your seed, put your uh, seed where they meet your need. So that's going to be with your own kind. I believe that. Okay. And if you, I will probably participate in the seed exchange as well, because the Bible says that if you are one of his children, uh, your rod will be won't wither. Your rod won't wither. So we had a guy. I don't know. He's one of the oldest people that I ever known to have lived as a movie star. So, for example, his name was George Burns. The guy used to smoke a cigar. I mean, he used to smoke a pipe, one of the big ones too. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that when he got promoted, I think he was 104. Oh, okay, so um, the problem was is he was melanated, so I don't know how his rod went. What they would do in the king's days, like say he got sick or something, you're like, oh, then how long is he going to be sick? He's the king, so he's got to run the country or whatever. And what they would do was they would put a succulent piece of work in bed with him. And if he did the do, then they knew he was all right. But they did that test on him once, and they said the king is dead. All right, but he was still alive, but he was dead. All right, he wasn't trying to make any more little kinglets or something. So that rod in that type of situation, all right, I guess I guess it withered or something like that. But that is a promise if you are in the kingdom of heaven. Yeah, I'm sorry that the way I get it and the way I believe, and the way I believe it, I don't think there's going to be 12 virgins in heaven just waiting for me. Jeez, I haven't met 12 virgins here. Okay. I mean, I probably have, but like not all at the same time, or not like in a harem or anything like that. They're like some of this other religions are promised. So anyway, melanated people, congratulations, your time is coming. Some of the conspiracy theorists will say the majority of the population in the year 2040 will not be non-melanated people. And if they have one heat wave in 2000 and Jokers die, and this is just the beginning of July. Oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. This is just the beginning of August, but I think a lot of those got unalived in like June and July in the heat wave that they had. I don't know what part you were from, but it's pretty hot in September too. Okay, so it doesn't really cool down until it gets around holiday time again. When they start that trick or treat, Thanksgiving, whatever else they have. I try not to observe those. I try to observe the high holy days. All right, and I'm not I'm trying to break my brainwashing from celebrating the holidays into celebrating the high holy days. So it's not that easy. You think you would just start doing it, but I don't have any. Uh, hmm, I'm not as compelled as I used to be for the holidays. So I gotta unlearn that and try to become compelled to do the high holy days. And that's not something that you're going to learn in your first or second year, I don't think. But anyway, young melanated people, there's always been a problem, particularly in our neck of the woods, when the melanated person ended up with the non-melanated person. It was always an issue for the melanated person. And so,
wherever they're allowing you, and in Spain and France or anything like that, there's going to be a problem there too. The best thing I can tell you is whatever they offer you, if it's 6'2", eyes are blue and blonde hair, don't touch it. I guess you can get away with copulating with the brunettes or something, but them ones that they are willing to treat you other than humanly or unhumanely uh, for because she picked you or whatever. Don't pick those. That's, obviously, I can't influence you not to do it, but I don't know what the plan of the creator is. So if they're letting you in, okay, that's probably one. I don't know if you would know that, but maybe you do. You know what I found? Um, there was a time when I was in hotels a lot, and I usually just pick the hotels online, right? And I didn't go to a certain chain, and the only reason why I didn't do that is because the places that we were having meetings, a certain chain, what was too far away, right? So I tried to get one closer to the venue, and some of the hotels, I try to do a 3 star or a 4 star, a three, a four, or a 5 star, right? Because that 1 star and that 2 star, they have people that live in those. I did not know that. And that they'll charge you, like $80 a night or something like that there. But they have people that live in that. And people who live in a hotel or a motel, uh, uh, they may be there because of circumstances that will be on their control. And let's just say it might not go so swell for you if you're by yourself. If you pull up on one of those, like say you're traveling, okay? So I try to go to the ones that are safe. You know, it costs a little bit more, not much more, maybe $40, but the room is clean. You know, there are some good ones for $99, so that's cool. You know, there was this one. I remember the commercial. They had this part in the commercial where they would say, "Well, if you're tired, um, stay at our hotel or whatever. We'll leave a light on." What was their catchphrase or something like that? All right, so some of those are nice, but if you get the one, like that says something like the Bates Motel, okay, okay, yeah, you might not, yeah, you might not. Okay, you might want to take that because people live in it, okay, and they have their issues as opposed to if you get one that's a 4 star or a 5 star. I don't know if is there a 5 star hotel? That's why I said three, four, and five because I don't know if there's a 5 star, but I know there's a 3 and 4 star. So anyway, I'll go there. So always be clean. You always have room service. At least they used to always have room service. Now all the room service does is clean the room after you leave. Okay. So if you want them to come and bring you a hot towel or something, that's extra. Okay. So how did I go from the melanated people being used to produce the next generation of the palm colored people and the uh, melanated people that they're going to mix so their children will be had. Okay, so they should be able to take the sun because I guess the way it's going is they don't anticipate that the sun is going to recede. It's going to get hotter and hotter, and you have to have a degree of melon in you. Right? So be careful when you go over there. When we first came up north from slavery, they did experiments on us. So you're probably going to be facing stuff like that if you go into one of these countries that are losing their sovereignty. They've still got sickos, psychopaths, sociopaths, narcissists. They still have those same types of people, and you're going to be experimented on. Maybe not every single one of you, but enough of you to satisfy their curiosity. Right? They are a curious race. They dig in tombs. Okay. They try to dress it up a little bit and put a female lady. I could see if it's Angelina Jolie or something like that. Angelina Jolie or Jolie Angelina, something like that. So they'll make her like one of those types of explorers. But the people are uh, they are being depicted in adventure mode. But for those people, but when they used to send the mummies and stuff back, for example, the people would eat the mummies. They believed that the mummies had some kind of thing that would cause them to be healed or something. They'd eat them for healing purposes. Okay. I guess they would make tea out of it, or chop you up, or cut the tomb wrapping up and boil it, drink it like a tea. I don't know, but these people are nuts. Okay, so um, I just want you to know where you are. You're happy that you got away from your circumstances, but and if you end up in Spain or if you end up in France, it's just not going to go that well for you. I'm sorry. Some of you will do good if you were a bull, if you were 6'2", brown, and uh, brown and not brown, or fat or something like that. There, you should do okay because they're going to use you to uh, propagate their kind. So I guess you got to do what you got to do. But if you are over here, and if you don't have to do that, um, keep your seed where they will help meet your need, and that's going to be with your people. So for example, if there are three palm people and one melanated person, don't get on. Don't go to no island. All right, do not go to the island. Oh boy, with them people, right? Because we have these types of things are they're ramping up. They're getting closer and closer together. We had one little girl. I don't know. She could have been tall. I don't know, but they're purporting that she was 14. They unalived her and left her in front of the church in a precarious way because the Bible says that you are cursed if you are hung on a tree. So there's that. So she kind of ended up like that. But over here, they've always had this sort of thing. At least in the back of your mind, you think that they've always done that. So I'm pretty sure that they do that sort of thing overseas as well. So you just have to watch yourself. If you want to go to a beach, get your own boat. That's all I got to say about that. If you want to, if you want your kids to live, stay in your race. Remember, the people that are palm are closely related to Neanderthals. So they have the wherewithal to woo you, right? And you're curious enough to be wooed. That's how to get you. Don't let them get that close to you. Okay, just stick to your own kind of pace and live. We need you. Okay, so anyway, that's my story. Um, I'm going to go back into my routine. I'm retired. I have a routine that I get to do now. And if there are no questions, I'll go in the video. Oh, every time. I don't know, hour and a half. That's pretty cool. That's not bad for only having two things on my list to talk about. Ding, ding. These two things. Yeah. Okay, trust me, it's two. All right. Are there any questions? I've seen a couple of people come in the room, and I hope you put a like on the video. Right. Why don't you do it now so you don't have to think about it later? Are there any questions? Okay. Thank you for your time. Give honor and glory to the creator of heaven and earth. Right? Even if you don't get 12 versions. Love ya.